called The Craft and the Crescent. It says Freemasonry and the Black Muslim Movement in America by Michael S. Schneider. Introduction of this book, it says, this paper sets out to show the influence of Freemasonry in the Nation of Islam, NOI, and the group leading up to the NOI's formation and those who rose out of it. These groups were created of necessity because of the unfavorable social atmosphere toward African Americans in the United States at the beginning of the 20th century. The groups that lead up to the Nation of Islam were the United Negro Improvement Association, led by Marcus Garvey and the Moorish Science Temple. You hear that? Again. The groups that led up to the Nation of Islam were the United Negro Improvement Association. And that was led by Marcus Garvey and the Moorish Science Temple, founded by Noble Drew Ali in Allegiance. I will touch on each of these groups and show their relation to the Nation of Islam and the influence that these two groups had on W.D. Fard and Elijah Muhammad, the two men who are responsible for the creation and development of the NOI theology. We're at the New York Times here, right? And there's an article here. They were talking about something that had happened in 1920. So this is an article from May 22nd, 1993, section 1, page 18. You can buy the originals right there, this little section right here. Now it says, Black Muslims enter Islamic mainstream, front page, May 3. Misses a key historical fact on the introduction of Islam in America. Now it says the Ahmadiyya movement in Islam, an Orthodox universal community, was the first successful organized effort to introduce Islam in the United States and was most successful among African Americans, so-called African Americans. Check your genealogy. We already broke it down. It was a whole movement to put this like doctrine into you. There was a whole movement from all the way on the other side of the world. Missionaries were sent to America. Missionaries were sent to America by the Ahmadiyya movement to propagate Islam. The first being Mufti Muhammad Sadiq, who landed in America on February 15th, 1920. Muhammad Sadiq became close to the Universal Negro Improvement Association founded by Marcus Garvey and preached Islam to the Garveyites, whose members then included Elijah Muhammad and who? Noble Drew Ali. They were part of the Universal Negro Improvement Association. All right, so now we're in this article from the University of California, Riverside. It says Noble Drew Ali and the Moorish Science Temple, a study in race, gender, and African American religion, 1913 to 1930. This is a dissertation submitted in partial satisfaction of the requirements for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy and History by Stephanie Ann Wilms. Like it says, it takes into account of the influences Marcus Mosiah Garvey and the Universal Negro Improvement Association had on Moorish science, the impact of Freemasonry and photography, and the success and spread of Moorish science photography, like advertisement, and the role of women within the early temple. Right. Research Abdul Hamid Sulieman, an Egyptian Muslim, reveals his organizing activities associated with the Canaanite temple and its connections to African American Freemasonry. Freemasonry, again, here we go. This information about Sulieman's activities and the Canaanite temple suggests that Noble Drew Ali and his creation of Moorish science may have been influenced by the work of Sulieman. Religious scholar Patrick B. Bowen identified in an article, Negro Freemasons Incorporated, in the New Brunswick Times on 4 February 1910, which reported the incorporation of Mecca Medina Temple of ancient free and operative Masons. In August 1922, Sulieman attended the African American Masonic Convention, where he presented himself to Caesar R. Blake Jr., the leader of the ancient Egyptian Arabic order, nobles of the mystic shrine, also referred to as the Black Shriners, and insisted that Shriners come under protection of Mecca Medina Temple, what he referred to as the true shrine. These insights about Sulieman and his connection to the earlier forms of Masonic Islamic organizations further complicate the history of Noble Drew Ali and the creation of the Canaanite Temple in 1913. Both Mecca, Medina, and the Canaanite Temple may have been, as Bowen suggests, one of the many African-American Masonic factions that had been springing up since 1894, inspired by rhetoric of the Black Shriner movement. Drew Ali may have been involved in the formation of the Canaanite Temple but it seems that he previously documented timeline of 1913 is highly unlikely. Moreover, it was not until 1920 that Drew Ali formally associated himself as a preacher, as documented in the 1920 census. Although it is not impossible that Drew had been involved in shaping the Canaanite temple, his presence has not been documented in any sources related to the organization. So here's a newspaper article. Let me just try to zoom in. All right, it says converts sought by Mohammedans make special drive among Negroes of U.S. Dr. Abdul Harstan Sulieman, a native of Arabia, of 143 West 130th Street, Manhattan, the high priest of Mecca for a number of years, has inaugurated a movement for spreading Mohammedanism among the Negroes of the United States. A number of Muslim groups have been started, particularly one in Newark, New Jersey, under the name of the Canaanite Temple. Under their leadership, the temple, it is reported, has attracted a large membership group of Negro Muslims have combined with the Turkish and Syrian groups throughout the United States. All right. Dr. Sulieman has gathered together these groups with the Turkish and Syrian groups in this country, and they have decided to create a mosque in the northern part of Manhattan Island. Under the leadership of Dr. Sulieman, there will be a movement conducted among the Negro people throughout the United States to convert them to Mohammedanism. All right, so it says article discussing the early Canaanite temple. In the article of the Brooklyn Daily Eagle, this is from the Brooklyn Daily Eagle from the July 15th, 1923. All right, that article we just read. Says the Canaanites Temple of Newark, New Jersey was attributed to Dr. Sulieman. Says Drew Ali's involvement with the temple has been reported only in oral histories. While the spelling in this report does not match other historical documents on the Canaanite Temple, the Associated Press often printed typos in spelling and punctuation errors. The article does not mention Drew Ali, only Dr. Sulieman. Bowen cited the activities of the Mecca Medina Temple as early as 1910 and posited Sulieman's possible involvement with that group. The Brooklyn Daily Eagle article states that this Sulieman was the leader of the Canaanite Temple with other Muslim groups, and he was the high priest of Mecca for a number of years. It is also announced that he has inaugurated a new movement. So you see that article didn't even mention Noble Drew Ali is what she's pointing out for the Canaanite Temple. All right, so we're back in the book, The Craft and the Crescent, Freemasonry and the Black Muslim Movement in America by Michael Schneider. Many books have been written about each of the groups listed above, so I will not go into a great deal of their general history. I have listed a selected reading page for further study. The Order of Freemasonry is the grandfather of all fraternal organizations and has some impact on each generation. Freemasonry has been segregated for most of its history in the United States, yet its impact on both black and white societies cannot be disputed. Many leaders of both races have been members of this organization, and the teachings of Freemasonry show in their actions. Freemasonry had filled in a need in two cultures of both black and white. African Americans have transformed Freemasonry into a social and religious sect that continues to be driving force in society today. All right, so further down on this regarding Marcus Garvey, it says Marcus Garvey was a member of the Prince Hall Freemasonry. All right, Marcus Garvey was a member of Prince Hall Freemasonry. Let's go back to Africa, right? What he was saying all the time, right? Mary Lefkowitz states to a large extent that UNIA was organized along Masonic lines. It had a significant benevolent function. It had a constitution based on the Masons. It also had a potentate, and potentate's helmet closely resembled the ceremonial hat worn by Masons in special parades. Note the picture above the Marcus Garvey in a similar uniform to that of a Knights Templar of the Masonic Order. All right, so let's go back. You see, we're talking about his dress, the way he dressed, and all that. Many African American Freemasons at the time believed that Freemasonry actually started in the advanced civilization of ancient Egypt. This helped African Americans identify with Freemasonry, as it was thought to be based on ceremonies in ancient Africa. One of the UNIA main doctrine was that black man should leave America and return to the homeland of Africa. You see, that's what Marcus Garvey was telling you. Go back to Africa. All right, Noble Drew Ali in the Moorish Science Temple of America. A man named Timothy Drew. All right, so we just got his name was really Thomas Drew. All right, Thomas Drew founded the Moorish Science Temple. in 1913. He was born in North Carolina on January 8th, 1886, right? Same day as the Thomas Drew, who actually has some census records. He converted to Islam after a visit to Saudi Arabia. Marcus Garvey and his group heavily influenced Drew, and after Garvey was deported in 1927, many of his followers joined Drew's organization, many of Garveyites. All right. Remember, they told us we're leaders in the Moorish Science Temple. Many of the Garveyites were leaders in the Moorish Science Temple. We got this reference in another source. He took the name Noble Drew Ali and proclaimed himself a prophet of Allah God. He was a member of the ancient Egyptian nobles of the mystic shrine, commonly called the Black Shriners. Noble Drew Ali. The men in this Moorish Science Temple wore fezzes as part of their dress. They were also required to wear colored shorts with elastic just below the knee and uniforms or robes of purple or red, which resembled those worn by the Shriners. They were considered to be Asiatic or Moors instead. Asiatic or Moors instead of African American. He thought that the Moors were superior to the white race. Noble Drew Ali stated that Jesus, according to the temple teaching, as a black man tried to redeem the black Moabite, only to be executed by the white Romans. In their meeting, they would practice rites that were not to be spoken of outside of the order. You can't do this. Keep it a secret. They had their own marriage ceremonies that consisted of 30 members and were conducted by the divine minister. If they were to quit the order, they would be required to commit suicide according to the oath taken upon joining. Outside of their meetings would be placed a guard who would push a button that would turn on a light at the podium. This let the speaker know if some unwanted guests were coming. If so, they would change their tone of speaking. They had different colored lights for different occasions, depending on whether or not they thought the visitor to be a government informer. Some of the titles of their officers are as follows: Grand Sheikh, National Counselor; Lieutenant Governor, Sheikh, Minister, Assistant Grand Sheikh, Divine Minister, Supreme Grand Advisor, Supreme Grand Governor. They would carry membership cards with them at all times, which consisted of the following: this is your nationality, an identification card for the Moorish Science Temple of America, and birthright for the Moorish Americans, etc. We honor all the divine prophets, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Confucius, Buddha. May the blessings of God of our Father Allah be upon you that carried this card. I do hereby declare that you are a Muslim under the laws of the Holy Quran of Mecca. Love, truth, and peace and freedom. I am a citizen of the USA. You're a citizen of the corporation, USA, capital letters. Noble Drew Ali, the Prophet, one of his with Chicago. So you see, that's the card. We read it in the other book too. They were required to learn an examination of question and answers to be part of the organization. This was taken from the examination portion of Freemasonry. Noble Drew Ali also wrote the Quran as revealed to him by Allah, containing the Moorish view of creation to the end of time and the fulfilling of prophecies. Ali's Quran focused on the history of the black man and his evolution to its current state. This Quran in no way resembles the Holy Quran used by practicing Muslims. After death, Ali, John Gibbons L., claimed to be the new prophet and continued the organization. It is still in existence today, mainly in major cities. There have been several offshoots, mainly because of power struggles within the organization. We are all Moors, ending centuries of crusades against Muslim and other minorities. Oh, so now we're all Moors again. Moabites and Canaanites, that's what you're saying? We're all Moroccans born in America? Is that what you're saying? So in this book by Anur Majid, right? Let's see what they're saying here. Okay, so let's zoom in. It says Islam and identification with Moors was especially clear in the case of the Moorish Science Temple of America, established by the enigmatic American Muslim Noble Drew Ali during the epoch of the Great Migration of blacks from the South to the North and Midwest between 1913 and 1930. Noble Drew Ali, born Timothy Drew, Psych, Thomas Drew. All right, dodge the hijack. Dodge it, please dodge it. Break the spell. That's not a real person. His name was Thomas Drew. We just saw that, right? Thomas Drew from Virginia, not from North Carolina. Thomas Drew was born on January 8th, 1886 in Virginia, not North Carolina. It says here, It says, shaped the new Negro ideology into a unique combination of homegrown Islamic doctrines and elements of Freemasonry. Oh, Freemasonry. Timothy Drew shaped the new Negro, or Thomas Drew shaped the new Negro ideology into a unique combination of homegrown Islamic doctrines and elements of Freemasonry. Freemasonry, particularly from the Shriners, known officially as the American Arabic Order of Nobles of the Mystic Shrine. Drew Ali claimed Moroccan ancestry, so he was Moroccan, but then his census said he was a Virginia. So was he a Moroccan indentured servant that came here, was adopted? Is that what I'm gonna find out? All right. Drew Ali claimed Moroccan ancestry and issued nationality cards with Moroccan flag. So you're Moor, you got your nationality card, you're a citizen of the United States of America in capital letters, you have a Moroccan flag on the nationality card. So what's up? Blacks and his ideology were from Amexem instead of from Africa, and were part of the galaxy of Asiatic races, the galaxy, extending from Asia to Native and Hispanic America. And all these races were Muslim. All of them were Muslim. Again, see how they generalize, right? Of course, Drew Ali's brand of Islam was bound to be attacked by Orthodox and Sunni Muslims, as happened when the Al-Ansar educated Sudanese Sati Mahid Muhammad of Al-Qadi Suward al-Dabhab, damn, he got a long name, sued Drew Ali in court for defaming Islam and agitating for the issuing of 3 fatwas against him in Egypt and Sudan. It was from Newark in 1912 or 13 that Drew Ali received his prophetic calling on to found a religion for the uplifting of mankind. But Drew Ali's movement was not without its controversies. The Bible of the Moorish Science Temple of America, a long titled abridged as the Circle 7 Quran, 1927, was heavily plagiarized. Again, pay attention. His Circle 7 Quran was heavily plagiarized from the Rosicrucian text onto the I grant. Look it up. Talking about Freemason secret societies here. And Eva S. and Levi Dowlin's The Aquarian Gospel of Jesus the Christ. On the eve of Noble Drew Ali's death in 1929, we're going to get into who this guy is too. W.D. Fard Muhammad, probably born to a man from the East India, but would later become Pakistan and white English woman on February 25, 1891 in New Zealand, appeared in Chicago after having entered the United States via Canada illegally in 1913 with an anglicized name and having joined the Theosophical Society of San Francisco. Who established the Theosophical Society? Blavatsky, right? He also joined Garvey's UNIA, the Garvey's Association, right? Same people, right? These are people are working together. These are all Freemasons. And once in Chicago, the Moorish Science Temple. All right. So he was even in the Moorish Science Temple. He joined the Moorish Science Temple while attending the Ahmadiyya Mosque on the city's south side when Fard Muhammad moved to Detroit in 1930 with its estimated 120,000 black people to peddle exotic clothes and such. Noble Drew Ali had passed away, and Fard Muhammad soon started preaching on Drew Ali's working class customers, establishing a movement of Muslims as opposed to Drew Ali's Muslims with the O. Officially the Lost Foundation of Islam, stressing consumer discipline, education, strict dietary laws, and pride in one's origin, was founded on July 4th, 1930. But it would be Elijah Poole from Georgia, Elijah Poole, down on his luck in the cold, forbidding north, who would designate the mysterious Fard Muhammad as God incarnate after meeting him in 1931. All right, the following year, Fard Muhammad was arrested on strange charges pertaining to a father's alleged sacrifice of another man. Then again in 1933 for disturbing the peace. In June 1934, Fard left as abruptly as he had appeared in 1929. So leaving behind Elijah Muhammad, as Elijah Poole was now known, to lead a fractious movement caught up in the internecine conflict and division. All right. Islam in Africa south of the Sahara, Pade Babru and Bajid Maksake. That's the book we're reading right now, real quick. Wallace Fard was also known to go by other names. Most notable of these are David Ford L. I told you, David Ford L. and Wali Farad Muhammad, and W.D. Fard and F. Muhammad Ali.
Like Noble Drew Ali of the Moorish Science Temple, before him no one could recall exactly where he was born. However, the Nation of Islam records show that he was born in 1877, and his given birth name was Wali Fard. Wali Fard. He later changes this to Wallace Fard Muhammad. Besides this, there is very little documentation of where he was born and to which family, given his books. Many within the movement thought he was a white man, and others thought he was born in New Zealand or in Portland of European and Polynesian parentage. But how he came to live in California is still a mystery. Prior to the founding of the Nation of Islam, Wallace Fard Ford, right? Ford, the Ford family, Ford, right? Fard joined the Moorish Science Temple. Prior to founding the Nation of Islam, Wallace Fard joined the Moorish Science Temple of America in spring of 1929, shortly after he was released from prison in Detroit. He was in prison in Detroit. In recognition of his newfound faith within the Moorish Science Temple, he changed his name from David Ford, white man, David Ford, New Zealand, to Wallace Fard. However, 4 months after joining the Moorish Science Temple, Noble Drew Ali died under mysterious circumstances, and Fard immediately proclaimed himself the leader of the movement, claiming that Drew Ali, the founder of the movement, had named him as successor. So this is what W.D. Fard was doing. All right, the proclamation drew suspicion and anger from leading members of the Moorish Science Temple, many of whom indicated that Fard had not been a member long enough to lead the movement.